Heyo,
Hey,
welcome
how's it
everybody.
going?
It is going good. How are you doing?
Oh man, you wouldn't even believe it.
You always say that, but I feel like I would believe it.
You wouldn't.
Oh wow.
I promise.
Okay. All right. All right. You're testing my ability to believe, man. I don't
I'm
know.
testing it. I'm testing it.
All
You know, it's
right.
funny. I can always tell. I can always tell when you're producing because your scene is backwards on YouTube.
Oh, that's how it's supposed to be. It's always supposed to
Oh,
be the
that's
other way around.
oh
Yeah.
my bag.
Mm-hmm. Your bag. That's okay. You know.
My bag.
You can, if you want, you can flip my video horizontal on your stream
I
when you're
could.
producing. Mm-hmm.
I could flip it. Yeah. So then you're sideways.
Oh yeah, that's flipping it vertical. Or no, that's rotating. That's
Oh.
rotating it 190
Oh.
maybe,
Again.
whatever. Yeah, just
My
just
bag.
flip it horizontal. You know. Hey guys,
Maybe I could do that.
welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. Hey Mighty War Sprite or War Spite. Why do I always say Sprite? It's my gosh,
Yeah, it's
War Spite,
Warspite and
Oza,
Oza
and Baka.
and Baka. Welcome, you
Nice,
guys.
welcome. Nice to see you guys
Yeah,
here. It's great to have you. Hoi hoi. Um, This is Don't Worry Wednesday, the show where
it
we talk
is, and
about whatever's on
and
your
you're
mind.
hosting,
That's right, I am
right?
hosting. Let me
Yeah,
host.
good job.
Dang it. Do I need to come over there and
Nope,
make.
you just do
All
your
right,
thing, man.
all right,
Roll with it.
all right. Well, I'm the host. No. Yeah, this is Don't Worry Wednesday, the show where we talk about issues, topics, whatever's on your mind. This world is a struggle to get through, but that's also what makes it beautiful. And we can come together and be friends and encourage one another and help each other on our way through our own experiences. And that's what we aim to do here today. You can submit a topic at don'tworrywednesday.com, as the link Princess just gave provides and shows. Um, and yeah, just keep in mind we aren't professional psychologists or anything along those lines, but we have lived lives enough to know a thing or two. We aren't the wisest men on earth, but we can try to aim to give good advice or at least encourage you. A lot of times you guys know how to solve your own problems. Just need a little bit of backing, a little bit of someone to be in your corner and say, hey, looks like you got things right. That's what I would do too. And sometimes we're just clueless and we're just like, I have no idea what to do next. My brain is stuck in this loop and I can't think of the next step. Could you please help? And I think we
Yeah,
all get there sometimes. So
yeah,
that's really nice that we have this show because it can give an extra perspective, or someone else saying, hey, you know what? I don't know this next step either. That sounds rough. But at least we can be friends together doing it. So
mm-hmm.
yeah. Um Whoa, Baka, that's crazy. Well, I
Yeah.
hope there's no actual tornado. If there is, uh don't stay here. Go ahead
Well,
and take care of things.
if they do the stuff the same where you are as the same as where we are, then a tornado warning means there is a tornado that has been spotted.
Yeah.
A tornado watch means the conditions are correct for having a
Yes.
tornado. But yes, the warning means, yep, they've seen one, it's out there, and so look out.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny because you'd think it'd be the opposite.
Like, go watch it. There's a
Yeah,
tornado watch. Go
yeah,
out and
you
watch
can't
it.
watch a tornado that doesn't exist. It's not tornado watching if there's no tornado. So tornado watch should be when there is a tornado, and tornado warning should be when there might be one.
Yeah.
But oh well, it is what it is. Um,
It
yeah,
is what it is.
tis what tis. Um,
Yeah. Hey, Master
it's what
Lay, we haven't
it's.
seen you in a while. Welcome.
Yeah. Hey, Master Lay, it's great to have you here.
Hmm.
How are things on your end? You doing well? Um, Ori, hey, yeah, definitely take good care, Baka. Um, be mindful of what's going on around you. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So, yeah, welcome to the show. What do you say we get started?
I say that's a great idea.
Awesome. Let's do it. Um,
Yes.
okay. All right. So, um, it doesn't look like we have any topics that are urgent at the moment, which allows us to be a little free to kind of pick and choose a little bit. I think that we have an anonymous one that we have 2 anonymous ones that we can do. One's from May 3rd though, and I think that we should probably do that one, and hopefully the anonymous person is here with us today. I think that would be the best. Do you agree, Princess?
I mean, it's fine. It was just highlighted from last time.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
see.
You might want to go down the list just to see if there's anyone who's here.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I'll do that.
And we wanted to ask Worstbite something. Worstbite, you sent another post that was very similar to your last one. Is that a actually separate post, or was that just in case yours got lost?
Yes, that was a good question. It was a mistake. Okay. There was, I didn't know if for sure if you wanted us to talk more on a specific matter within the post that we didn't cover. But yeah. Okay, no problem. Thanks. So we got Nihilus, Wandering Soul, Sparrow, Meowlido, Shark Jelly, Toby, Saule, Patrick Punmaster, and then some Anonymi. Is that correct? Is it Anonymi for multiple anonymous people?
You know, probably.
Okay. It sounded right when I said it. It sounded correct and sophisticated, but it's probably anonymouses. Something.
It could be just anonymous.
It could be anonymous is already plural and singular.
Or it could be anonymous.
Anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe anonymousin.
Anonymousin.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Multiple anonymousin.
Yes, exactly.
Stop
hey, Ash, welcome.
Up.
Nice to see you here. So, of the people I mentioned, it doesn't look like anybody rang in, which is totally fine. So let's start with anonymous and let people kind of join in as the day progresses, and yeah.
Sounds good.
Cool? All right.
Yeah. Which one?
We're gonna do the fear of being left behind. Is that our fine one to do?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. I'm going to switch over to the topic, and whenever Princess is ready, she can feel free to read.
How should I cope with the feeling/anxiety that comes with the thought of being left behind? I feel like time is rushing, and I'm not fast enough to keep the pace with everyone else. From Anonymous.
Wow, that was a short one. But yeah, anxiety. Anxiety is a hard thing, and in fact, it is rampant in our world today. It is more prevalent in our world today than it has ever been. And I think there's a lot of good reasons for that, and it's very interesting. At least as far as we know, right? I suppose there were times in the past where anxiety might have been higher, but as far as we know, this moment in history right now is very prevalent with anxiety. So what are some things that you can do to alleviate it, especially about being left behind? And I understand that feeling too. I remember that fear of being left behind used to rule my childhood. There was my childhood was made up of just that fear of calling to it, and just culling as in CULL. And just everything I did was I didn't want to go to sleep because I was worried I would miss something, and so I actually developed for a very long period of time, what do you call that? Sleeping disorders. Just because I didn't want to be left behind. I didn't want to miss anything, and I just, yeah. So all good things. I'm looking forward to see what Joe has to say. So Joe, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Oh my. It's interesting. This is a great topic. So we could there are a couple things we could deal with. We could deal with the anxiety part, and we could also deal with the fear of being left behind, because both, they're kind of two separate issues, right? So dealing with anxiety can be really tough. And sometimes if it's severe enough, I would definitely recommend talking to a therapist. In fact, in this whole situation, depending on how prominent these feelings are in you, I would definitely recommend maybe seeking out a therapist or a counselor or somebody to talk to that can kind of help you unpack these thoughts and feelings that are going on. Because I know that when I first started seeing the therapist that I'm seeing now, we went through a couple different inventories, one for anxiety, one for depression, and they ask a bunch of questions, and you rate them on a scale of 0 to 3, and depending on those answers, based on those answers, they determine how severe your anxiety levels are, your depression levels are, and then they can figure out what to pinpoint and how to deal with things. If you're having anxiety attacks as a result, there are definitely tools that a therapist can give you to cope with that and to help work you out of it. But yeah, so when it comes to anxiety in general, you may or may not necessarily need medication. Some people find that medication is helpful. But I think there are a lot of ways to cope with it without medication. And sometimes medication can just make you tired and drowsy and sleepy and, dull everything. And that can be, and almost it kind of band-aids the problem and helps you deal with it a little bit. But then you also want a therapist if you do get medication for it, the tools to work through the anxiety so then you don't need to rely on the medication would be very, very helpful as well. But so for anxiety, that's probably what I'd recommend most, is to find a counselor of some kind that you can talk to and help kind of unpack that. They can target what is actually causing the anxiety. Now, as far as the fear of being left behind, I mean, you're right. Everything moves so fast. Technology moves fast. We grow up fast. Things move fast, and everything changes all the time. And it's pretty crazy because, excuse me, if you pay attention to the news, that will cause anxiety. And maybe depression as well.
Yeah.
But if you take in a lot of news media or that kind of stuff, that can really increase your levels of anxiety and increase your levels of fear. And so you may not necessarily need to focus on what's going on being broadcast by the media, by the news media. There's enough stuff going on in the rest of the world that is moving fast as well. So I think, it's really interesting. I've been around for a while and I've seen a few things and I've gone through a few things and I've watched things change and grow, and I've seen trends pop up and, fall away. And, here's the thing. We all kind of get into something. We get into some kind of skill or some kind of trade or some kind of pastime or something like that, right? And one of the best ways I've found to deal with that fear of being left behind is to find something that you love doing and then go after it. Do it. Get good at it. So, and then what you'll find happening is you in that particular field will get really, really good, and you will move beyond a lot of people in your skill level and in your abilities. And so in that case, you will be the one that is progressing faster than the rest of people if you can focus in that area. And that'll help, because then, you'll feel good about yourself. You'll be like, hey, you know what? I'm actually doing something and I'm learning something. When I started taking martial arts with my kids, I mean, that's kind of a niche thing, right? I mean, some people get good at art. I've met and I know a lot of tremendous artists that I look at how they draw or sculpt or whatever, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so incredible. And I don't have the I don't have the drive to excel in that area. I have the drive to excel in other areas. And so what I can do then is I can celebrate those advancements in those areas that I'm not necessarily good at, and I can congratulate the people that are good in those areas. And I can be like, "Hey, that is awesome." And it gives me a connecting point to those people. And I've found that to be a really, really good thing. Because then as I'm encouraging other people, as I'm helping them, feel better about themselves, it helps me to feel like a good person. It helps me to feel like an encouragement, and it also wins me some friends, which is really great. We don't have to get good at everything. We don't have to move the same pace as everybody in everything. And that's really great. We've got a company called BSS, Black Static and Swerve, and we have a team there where everybody's kind of good at different things. And that's a really cool thing, because we can we can rely on those people's strengths to handle their part of the company, and we can do our part, and together we can kind of shore up all those areas to help us move forward. Because depending on what it is, you might have to have a team of people. There might just not be enough time in the day for you to learn everything there is to know about accounting, or about music production, or about studio construction, or studio design, or I'm just using examples from BSS, the different areas that we are in, or IT stuff. I mean, like, who knows? The cool thing is when I have a question in that area, when I'm dealing with a problem in that area, I have somebody I can call or email or text or something and just say, "Hey, I'm dealing with this. I don't know. Maybe you can either walk me through it, or maybe you can just fix it."
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so I've found, for that fear of being left behind, I mean, if you're thinking about society in general, I don't know. I've found that you don't always have to keep pace with society in general. You don't always have to keep pace with that. But if you can find an area that you can dig into and excel at, then all the rest of that stuff, that fear of being left behind in those other areas, it kind of fades into the background, and you don't have to worry about it so much because you're focused on getting good at what you're getting at. If I go back to the martial arts example, I had no idea I was going to get into martial arts. No idea at all. One day, my wife called me and she said, "Hey, I enrolled the kids in martial arts." And I'm like, "Okay, that's pretty wild." And it was, that's kind of a whole nother story of its own. But the cool thing that happened about that was, my kids got involved in martial arts because there were two of them. The instructor came up to me and said, "Hey, you can train too. That when you have more than one person, it's technically a family plan. And so anybody in the family can also train, and it's included in that cost." And so I was like, "Well, gee whiz, I'm going to learn martial arts then, because it's something I can do with my kids, which is cool." And honestly, I feel like I'm wasting money if I'm not out there doing it with them, right? It's like I'm leaving money on the table or something.
Yeah.
But through the training with my kids, which was really, really cool and rewarding, I also got something to focus on and learn about, and it moved me forward in a real niche direction, but it was still moving me forward somewhere, and it gave me that sense of accomplishment. And then, now when I talk to people and I can say, "Yeah, I'm a black belt." I was actually at a track meet earlier this morning. One of my sons had a track meet, and his little brother was there watching, and he was with one of his friends, and I picked him up, put him on my shoulders, and he started smacking the top of my head. Because, that's what you do to a bald person, right? You smack the top of their head.
Great. Glad I have hair. They just pull your
Yeah.
hair if you have long hair, so it's like
right.
you pick and choose your battles there.
Yeah. but it's fun, right? But he knows how to hit because he's been trained. He's a black belt. And my son's friend said to me, "Yeah, you better watch out for him. He knows Taekwondo." I'm like, "Yeah, he's a black belt, but you know what? So am I."
That's right.
So it was pretty cool. But I don't know. Those are a few suggestions. If the anxiety is the big problem, I would definitely talk to a therapist. There are tools you can learn from a therapist that can help you deal with anxiety. If it's the fear of being left behind in general, I would say focus on one specific area that you're interested in and get good at it. Learn what you can about it. Just move forward and focus in that area. And what you'll find is that will consume your mental energy to the point where the other stuff, the fears of being left behind in all the other areas won't matter as much. So I don't know. That's kind of what I have to start. So Ryan, I'm gonna turn it back over to you because you're amazing and yeah, awesome.
I'll do my best.
Yes,
That's
you will.
that's all I can do, I guess.
Mhm.
I could do less than my best. That's another thing I could do. Um,
That
maybe
you
I'll try
could.
that. Maybe I'll try that someday. Um, someday. I do that all the time, actually. That's the truth. Anyways, back on topic. Yeah, I'll tell you this. Like, I think it's important what Joe was saying. To begin with, obviously we're all different people. We're just different. We all have different talents, different strengths, right? We can't expect to keep up with everybody in everything. And so it's important to recognize that, hey, my goal and job in life isn't to keep up with everybody. That's not my
Mm-hmm.
job in life. It's not my responsibility. That's not what I'm here for. Yes, there is pressure to do that. In our society, there's a lot of pressure to do that. Everybody wants us to keep up with the other people, right? Schooling system is designed that way, right? And because the schooling system is designed that way, I think that just generally culture in general is designed that way. You're supposed to be the smartest person on earth, except for the person that you're talking to is supposed to be a little bit smarter than you. And that's the way that generally people in society are. Um, so it's hard. What I would say is that's all a bunch of hullabaloo. And as Joe was saying, just focus on what is good, what you believe you're supposed to be good at, what you're passionate about. Find something to divest in, something to get involved in, and spend a lot of time in. That will improve you as a person. And it doesn't matter where you fit in, whether you're really good at it or not, whether you are better than everybody or you're just kind of average. It doesn't really matter. The fact is, I mean, you look at some of the most influential people on earth. I mean, I gave this example last time, but Mother Teresa is a great example, right? One of the most influential people in all time for a lot of reasons. What was she really good at doing?
People
Helping people? Yeah.
hanging out with people, and yeah.
Yeah. And even when she did that, was she perfect? No. She got rejected a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't want to be around her. A lot of people were like, "I'm not a charity case. Get away from me."
Mm-hmm.
Some people were very rude to her. And you know what? She still made a ton of influence. Was she the best communicator in the whole world? No. Was she the most revered person of all time when she was alive? No. No. Not at all. You don't have to be an excellent person at anything to make a big difference. And I think that's really important to say because it really helps to understand that your job in life isn't to worry about whether you're keeping pace, whether you're doing an exceptional job, whether you are the best at anything, whether you're better than the other people around you or whether you're worse. Don't worry about those things because that's not what makes a person change the world. When you worry about those things, you actually, a lot of times, now this isn't always the case, but when you worry about those things, a lot of times you hold yourself back from making a difference. Why? Because you become self-focused. If you want to make an impact on the world, which is important, if you want to make an impact on the world, because I mean, what's the point of getting good at anything? So other people can look at you and praise you, and then you die. I mean, there's plenty of
why
people that
not?
have done that. There's plenty of people who've won gold medals at Olympics who you don't know the name of, and they never did anything to have an impact on your life that you know of. Now they did, but you probably don't know about it, right? And it wasn't in a significant way, right? Everybody's lives, they make an impact on everybody. It's just true. But if you're focused on making yourself really, really, really good at something, or if you're focused on, just not being bad at everything, what you've done is you've taken everything and put it inwards to say, I need to be good at these things. But when you do that, you recoil inwards and you make no effect on the outside world. Now, is it good to train to get good at things? Absolutely. For sure. For sure. But my point is, don't get hung up over whether you're good or not. Just do your best and make it worth something, right? Thanks, Vanna. Have an awesome day or week. So, I don't know. I hope that's helpful, because I think in society today, we live in a world where productivity is king. We rate people, we value people based on how productive they are, how good they are at one thing or another. And I mean, that's the case for me too, right? A lot of people might look at me and go, okay, he's really good at music, and so he's really valuable. But that's not true. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not more valuable because I'm good at music. I'm good at music because I put a lot of work into it, but it has nothing to do with value. I can give more value to the world because I'm good at music, right? That's true. But I don't become more valuable because of some object outside of me, some performance that is, sure, my own, but it doesn't shape me. It doesn't make me who I am. It's just what I put time into to make a difference, right? So there's value there because I gave it time to make it valuable, but that value that it gives doesn't determine my inner value, right? So I think that it's important, in this society we live in today, it's often stressed that if you work hard, if you perform well, you get exonerated, right? If you perform well, you get put on a pedestal. And if you're a good actor, right? If you're a good actor, you become a celebrity. You become famous, things like that. And that puts people it gives people a false illusion that because we're putting these people on pedestals, that they're more important, that they're more valuable, that they're higher up, right? But it's not the case. It's not the case. We are all equal to that person on the pedestal. They're being put on a pedestal for something they did, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's important to recognize that if you live in this world, you're going to have the temptation a lot to think that way, because that's the way a lot of people think. But I think the best thing you can do is be real and be honest and say, look, those people, the things that they did are valuable, but who they are is a whole different subject. So, do you have to keep up with everybody to be valuable? The answer is no, you don't. Do you have to be really excellent at something, super genius at something, to be valuable as a human being? No, you don't. Can you be? Can you be good at those things? Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with being good at those things. In fact, I would say, yeah, shoot for it. Shoot for the stars. But are those the things that make the biggest impact on the world? No, they're not. A lot of times they're not. There's too many examples I could give of people who have made extraordinary changes in the world. And you look at them and you go, oh, they're just ordinary people. They're not geniuses. They weren't doing anything incredible. They were just being good people. And that's what we are called to be. That's what we should be. That's really all that really matters. So do good with what you have. We're all given a different, we're all given a different plate. We're all given a different avenue in life. We're all given different lives entirely, different skill sets, different tools, different arms and legs to do things with, different brains, different abilities entirely. We're all so different. The important thing is that you do good with what you have, not that you measure yourself up against other people and call yourself better. If you fall into this idea that our purpose is to excel at and be better than other people or keep up with them, then what you end up with is you end up with a lot of emotional issues. You end up with a lot of problems, right? Because there's so many things that happen to your brain that are just wrong. But you end up a person who has to be better at something than other people, or they're having a bad day. And so every day of your life is pretty much a reason to have a bad day because you can't be the best at everything. But when you do find yourself the best at something, you have this emotional explosion of like, yes, I am the best. I did it, right? And it's like, yes, it feels so good. And then 2 moments later, you get tore down.
Mm-hmm.
And your life is an emotional roller coaster, except for going up and down. It just mostly goes down a lot. So I want to protect you from that. And don't worry about getting lost behind or left behind, because you don't truly ever get left behind. Sure, people can leave you behind. Like, people can literally leave you behind. But you're always with you. And you are the one that makes the choices for you. You're the one that gets to decide whether you do good or evil. You're the one that gets to decide whether you eat potatoes or tomatoes. You're the one that decides for you. So if people leave you behind, it doesn't change the value of you. It doesn't mean that you're not as good, right? It's their own choice to do so. It's not connected, right? So you can get left behind. Guess what they took away from you? Themselves. What else? Nothing. Because you control you. And you have all the value you ever had. And you can still do amazing things. People will leave you behind in this world. Some people, many people, will go their own way. It's going to happen. It happens to all of us. And it's okay. You get to look at those moments in the future. And you look back at those moments and you go, you know what? That's all right. It was good. It was good that happened. I gained new friends. I learned a lot because of this scenario. I became, a better person. All sorts of different stuff can happen. But you get to decide what to make of your life. And don't look at yourself and try to be the best at everything. Because it's not something you need to worry about, because first of all, it's not achievable. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry, but it is. And I'm saying this because I've been through this. I'm only telling you what I've learned. And that is, if you go through your life and you compare yourself the whole time, whether you're good at something or not, to the other people around you, you're looking at your failures and go, I have too many failures to be a person worth anything. I have too many failures. I do too many wrong things. I mess up too many times. I'm not good enough at any of these subjects in school or work or whatever to match up with anybody else. I am just a piece of poop that's hung on by a rope and they're stringing me along. It's like, that's what I feel like. And you only feel like that because you're comparing yourself to everybody else. And the truth is, everybody ends up feeling that way if they go down that path of worrying about whether they compare well with others. Because you are your harshest critic in life. There will be no one who is more of a critic of you than yourself. And you'll run into some pretty mean people out there who critique you, but still you're worse because you do it more often.
Hmm. Well, and you just take the people that critique you, you just take that as extra ammunition
Yeah. Yeah.
and turn.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you just feel like, yeah, that person said that, so now I'm saying it against myself. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
no, I'll say it 10 more times. It'll be good.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's so true. So, anyways, my point is, don't don't live a life where you compare yourself in a way that hurts yourself to other people. I want to say this: you can do self-comparison and comparing other people to you in a healthy way. It is possible to have a healthy view of trying to get better by comparing yourself to what's possible. Yes, absolutely. But you have to consciously decide that you want it to be a positive thing. Because but based on the fact that you have a fear of being left behind, it isn't positive right now. So I would just say, that's okay. I've been there, I've been down that road. It stinks. I feel you. And what I want to say is, don't worry about it. You do you. You do the best you can at whatever you can. And don't ever worry about whether you're good enough or not. Because to some people, you'll never be good enough. They've made that choice, and that's just always going to be true. But don't make that choice for yourself. Don't ever say to yourself, I'm not good enough. That only holds you back from what's possible. And it makes you have that just downward spiral of self-doubt, self-hate. Yeah, it's not good. So what I would say, best advice, is to recognize that the world is going to try to push this view on you, and don't accept it. Don't take it, because it's not real. It's just an idea. And it's a dumb idea that we have to try to perform as well as everybody else or worry about getting left behind. Because the truth is, sure, some people will leave behind, but guess what? You'll turn around and make a difference in other people's lives. Whether people leave you behind or not, you have the ability to make a difference in your own life and many other people's lives, and has nothing to do with whether people leave you behind or not. There have been plenty of people that have left me behind, and I think I do pretty well, and I made a lot of really great friends, and who are probably there for the rest of my life. And if not, hey, that's okay too. It doesn't take anything away from me and what I'm capable of. So, that's what I want to say. Hope that was helpful. I want to pass it over back to Joe, if he's got anything else he wants to add to that.
Yeah, well, I wanted to just re-say what you already said, and that is how important it is to be a friend. Because really, I mean, if we get caught up in, are we better than somebody else at some certain thing? Like you were talking about, that's kind of the way the world is. It's very competitive. There's all this competition, all over the place. And, you want to be good. You want to be really good at other stuff, right? And it's funny because, I'm going back to the track meet, right? And I've noticed this in my son's, in his grade level, right? I've met a lot of the kids that are in his classes in his grade, right? And there are some of those kids that may not necessarily be the best athletes, but man, are they good at making the rest of the team feel good about themselves. They are indispensable on the team because, they might not get first place in the races or, in the field events or whatever, right? But they're wonderful to be around, and they're encouraging and all that kind of stuff. And, there's something really, really great about just taking a step back and being like, you know what? I don't have to worry about being the best. I don't have to worry about being the best at this, because
it puts a lot of pressure off your shoulders.
It
feels
does.
nice.
It takes a lot of pressure off, and it feels good to celebrate other people's victories. You get to celebrate that with them. I recently started playing the game Overwatch, and you get to endorse your teammates. And I just recently discovered you can also endorse your opponents.
Nice.
So I get in the habit, after a match, I'll endorse the opponents that kicked my butt the most.
That's smart. I like it.
Because yeah. But that's awesome. But the thing is when you can focus on being a friend to people and you can focus on supporting them, it really, really does great things in your heart. And it helps build love in your heart. There's a great book that I recently read. It's called The Art of Loving by Eric Fromm. This guy is a psychoanalyst, so it's a little bit wordy, but very, very valuable and deep. And, it talks about, how that's really the most important thing. All our skills, all the things we do, all the things we compete at, all that stuff. I mean, that can be great and that can move society forward for sure. But what really makes a difference is what Ryan was talking about. And that is, are you a good friend? Can you love people? Can you love people? Can you support people? And, we have a great example right here on the show in Princess, because she is such an amazing friend. She is such an amazing, support person. She's so wonderful. And it's great because in the MOBAs, the multiplayer online battle arenas,
Perfect.
she generally tends to choose a support role, one of the healers, right? And it just fits her personality so well because she's so good at that. And it amazes me because I'm not all that great at that all the time. I'm working on getting better and I'm learning, but it's that right there. If you can focus, I talked in my first bit about focusing on something to get good at. If you can focus in that area on supporting the people around you, encouraging the people around you, celebrating their victories, helping, in any way you can, you get good at that. And it does not matter what the rest of the world does because you're going to have friends in all those areas that are good at that stuff. And you're going to learn a lot about all that stuff. You're going to get good at that stuff because they're good at it. And, you're going to have people you can contact about all those different things when you have questions. And Ryan, there was this one point, it was years ago when he produced a song. And I remember telling him, I was like, yeah, I listened to it and I was like, those cymbal crashes, I can tell the compression was a little bit, hot on those cymbals. And Ryan was like, yeah, I did that on purpose. I was like, really? You did that on purpose? He's like, yeah, I did that on purpose because then, people can feel good about themselves by telling me I, could improve in that area or something like that. And I was like, wait a minute, he's third partying me.
That's right.
He's calling me out on that guy, But that's a really great thing. So then that takes so much pressure off. You don't have to be the best at something because you can help another person feel good about their abilities and knowledge in that area. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I remember being just awe-inspired. Like, I'm on this show with such great people, Ryan and Princess, and it's just an amazing thing. So that's all I have. I don't know.
Yeah.
Back to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, actually, that cymbal part, I remember I was writing it. I was trying to master it, and I was getting... The cymbals were... I wanted them as loud as they were, but there was nothing I could do, and they were just coming out crushed. And I was like, oh, this sound... You know what? I'm frustrated. I'm just going to send it. Boom. It's done. I don't care. It sounds like what it sounds like. I'm done. And I was... And the thought went through my head. If someone notices it, awesome. I'll just tell them, way to go. You have really good ears. Nice job. And that was it. And I was happy with that. And I was fine, And you were the first person that actually said something to me. So I let you in on what was going on there too. But yeah.
Yeah. And you were like, and I was like, yeah. So here I am. I'm like, oh, I'm that guy. I'm now that guy that he was talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like, great.
Yeah, but it's still like, feels good to be able to notice those things because it takes a lot of, it takes a skilled, a trained ear, So, yeah. No, I don't think I had too much more. But I really appreciate this topic, Anonymous. And I hope that we covered it well. I hope that it made sense. And it inspires you. And and you can get away from this habit of looking at the world and sort of get that feeling of like you're not good enough, you're falling behind, you're not keeping up, and just don't worry about it. We're all different. We all do that. We all feel that way, and we all have to learn that that's not what life's about. And if we don't, we end up in this very, very terrible lifestyle that some people live their whole life through and are not happy with. So I love that you're bringing this question up, and I don't know how old you are, but I'm glad you're bringing it up now, and I hope and I pray that this is something that you get through quickly, because it is not fun to go through. And yeah, so thank you so much. You're awesome. We love you. And yeah, on to the next topic, I guess. Hey everybody, thanks for joining. Hey Jono, how's it going, man?
Yeah.
Nice to see you. Yeah. So Ash, you actually did submit one that we can do today. I see. Oh. Okay. I think
Transatlantic ping.
I'm actually not completely sure what the sentence means that she gave me, but I'm like, okay, I just won't say anything. She said, don't say anything about this, and I was like, okay, I'll just not say anything in general. Hopefully that'll be, I think I will nail it then. Okay, so, yeah, I'm going to, I mean, we can go down the list. I'll go down the list just in case. We've got Nihilus, Wandering Soul, Sparrow, Meowlido, Shark Jelly, Toby, Saule, Patrick, Punmaster, and Anonymous, that was from last week, yeah, Warspite, and Ash. I think I failed. No? Okay, good. I didn't fail. All right. I'm getting many visual I'm trying to interpret soundless visuals of
Interpretive
emotional
dance.
expressions on faces and decide whether I failed or not. Anyways,
If you did, it doesn't matter, right?
If I
you
did,
just
it's
got
okay.
through saying that.
all right, we're gonna do Ash. Ash is here, and this one's has a little bit of an urgency tag on it. Not super urgent, but relatively. We can do it here, and we can do it now. So let's
we
do
can.
it. All right. 1 second. I gotta navigate. All right, here we are.
Navigator.
All right, here's the topic for you guys. Feel free to read it. This one is titled "Stressed with No Clear Reason" by Ash. And Princess will do the honors of reading it whenever she's ready.
Lately, I've been pretty stressed, but there's no real reason for this. I'm doing fine in school. All of my friendships are good. My family life is fine. So why am I so stressed? I can't fall asleep at night. And when I eventually do wake up, it's several times, even though there's no noise or light in my room. I've even had a few anxiety attacks. But when I reflect on what's been going on lately, nothing's wrong. I also just don't really feel like myself. I fake smiles, but I'm not sad. I'm just numb. It's not because of my grades. I'm doing fine with school. I've even made a few new friends. So what could be the cause of all this? Love you guys. Thank you for everything that you do, Ash.
Aw. Well, we
Thank
love you
you,
too,
Ash.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
Wow, we're in sync. We agree. You're awesome. And if we both said it at the same time, then it's got to be true, right? Yeah. So
We didn't script that.
we didn't
just
script
happened.
that. We didn't. I'm just adding the topic. There we go. Yeah. You know, sometimes in life we get through this. We get phases. You know, we get phases, and we're not sure why, what exactly is going on. All we know is it feels wrong. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes we're just not energetic. Sometimes we have that energy and we're feeling alive. And I would say that every once in a while, I think we all kind of get caught up in this. But I think there's also ways out of it. If you're feeling this way, sometimes you just need something to experience, something to go chase after, and it makes you feel a bit more alive, and rekindle that feeling. And sometimes it's just a seasonal thing. You know, there are many situations. Like, I think I can talk about this a little bit further, but later. But you know, we're creatures of habit, but we're also creatures of seasons. We're animals, and we have our ups and downs naturally, where we just you know, feel strange sometimes. But it could be any number of things, and I don't know. But I'm looking forward to see what Joe's got to say on the matter, and I hope that it's a lot better than what I've started with. I'm sure it will be.
What you started with is awesome, man.
All
Like,
right. It's gonna be great. Go ahead, Joe.
all right. Ash, I love you. You're awesome. And I think, this is an interesting situation. So you're pretty stressed and you don't feel like there's a reason for it. And I've been there before myself, where and there might not be any real reason, like you're talking about in your topic here. Your friendships are good, you're doing fine in school, your family life is good. All these things are these areas of your life that a lot of times typically we can feel stress from are doing fine. So why all the stress? Why the tension? Why even you mentioned sadness to some degree. Oh, you fake smiles, but you're not sad. You don't really feel like yourself. There are a few things that you can do. Just ask. I'll ask a few different questions. You don't have to answer them in the chat or anything, but these are some things to consider. One, how much sleep are you getting? Two, how much water are you drinking? Three, what and how much are you eating? And another one, like Ryan was getting at the seasonal thing, how much sunlight are you getting? Vitamin D comes from the sun. That definitely has an impact on what we do. So it was interesting. I remember these were things that my therapist, dug into right off the bat. When I first started seeing my therapist, she was like, "How much sleep are you getting?" And I was like, "Oh, those of you who know me."
Yeah.
I was like, about 4.5 hours of sleep a night. And she's like, seriously? Like, yeah, she said, okay, I need you to shoot for 7. And if you don't get 7 all at once, because if you've been sleeping only 4 or 4.5 hours every night for a while, your body's going to be in that habit. So if you don't get 7 all at once, try and get the remainder sometime in a nap. So you get 7 hours sometime in your 24-hour period, right? That you're each day. And how much water are you drinking? Like, I can't remember how much he said. I usually, let's see. I have this bottle. It's how big? A liter? Maybe it's a liter. And what's that?
Looks like a liter.
Yeah, and when you do, it sounds like a liter when you do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that probably didn't come through the microphone, but either way. So generally, 2 of those per day, 2 liters, generally tends to be okay. Caffeine was another thing. How much caffeine are you drinking? Another thing, how much exercise do you get? Do you take walks? Do you do anything physical? That's when we feel stressed. And it's interesting because it seems to me that the female mind grasps this much better than the male mind, and that is when you're feeling stressed, you need to go do something. You need to go exercise. You need to go whatever, right? And it seems to me that that tends to be the case. It's just kind of this natural thing, like I've noticed in women in general. They tend to understand, oh, I'm feeling stressed, I need to go do something. I need to go for a walk, I need to go for a run, I need to go exercise, I need to do something, right? And I don't know, it's weird. So, but these are some things you can monitor in yourself physically that could be a cause if something is lacking in there. Oh, another thing, how much sugar do you eat? If you eat high amounts of sugar, that can cause you to feel more stressed, more anxious, all kinds of stuff. And the crash from the sugar, you can feel weak, you can feel hungry, you can feel down. There's, sugar, if we eat a lot of sugar, it really can kind of cause some turmoil in there, right? So these are some things you can think about physically that may or may not be having an effect, but just take a look at how much of those different areas: water, sleep, food, what kinds and how much, sunlight, exercise. What else did I say? Take it easy on caffeine if you drink caffeine or consume caffeine. Take it easy on sugar. These are some things that you can do physically that might help you in this area. Another thing, on top of things physically that you can do to handle this, is I would wonder, even if everything is going fine, your family life, your friend life, your school life, even if all these things seem to be going just fine, one thing that I've had happen to me in the past is, even when things are great, if there's a lot of it, then I can tend to get stressed. Even if, like I said, even if it's all going well, but there's just a lot happening, that can cause us to feel stressed. It can cause us to feel overwhelmed, and it can really kind of wreak some havoc on what's going on in ourselves. So, those are some things I would take a look at, and that's pretty much all I had to start with. So, Ryan, I'm going to turn it back over to you real quick. Sorry to keep it real short, but I
think that's a great start.
I had those simple points, and that's about it. So
yeah, those are all like physical things that you can start working on. And honestly, from what Ash said, a lot of those things aren't issues. She doesn't drink much sugar. She doesn't do pop or anything like that, coffee, etc.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing she said is not getting much exercise. And
okay.
yeah, I mean, it's well known that exercising helps relieve stress. It is a very well known fact that has been talked about ever since I was little. Whenever you're stressed out, you do some exercise, you're going to relieve a bit of that stress. So that's one thing that might help. And if it does, I think that would be, wrong person. Perfect. So other than that, I think that also, if you weigh 90 pounds, that's totally fine. I was 90 pounds when I graduated high school. So I can relate to that. Anyhow, so if you're having a lot of stress, it might also be two other things that I'm kind of thinking. Yeah, I was. It's possible that the stress is a result of a habit. So I know that, Ash, things for you up until recently have been stressful. There have been a lot of different things going on in life that could cause stress. And so now that it's fine, now that a lot of things are worked out and things are going better, it would probably be very feasible that your brain is still just calling back those stressful thoughts, stressful feelings, just out of habit. And it's something your body and mind, or rather, your mind has to work through just to know, like, hey, everything's okay. You don't have to worry so much anymore. Everything's all right. Everything's all right. Because this happens to a lot of people where they're through a stressful environment for a long period of time, then they move on in life, and they have these constant fears of everything getting worse. Like, hey, things are okay, that means things are not going to be okay within like the next day. I'm sure something's going to fail. I'm sure something is going to go wrong. And it's because they've been just emotionally trained to anticipate bad things happening because so much bad has happened. And so it's entirely possible that your mind is having a hard time being at rest and being at ease with everything around you being okay, just because of a history of a lot of stressful things, a lot of things that to be anxious for. And so if you think that's true, please let me know in the chat. I think that it's quite possible. I know that, yeah, like I said, I know it happens to a lot of people. So if that is the case, I think one thing that helps is to acknowledge that, okay, my mind is just doing this because of the past, and everything's okay now. I need to allow everything to be okay, and just letting that feeling, taking that feeling, acknowledging it, and letting that feeling know that it doesn't have to be there. Letting your brain know that it is okay, and that it's also okay to have that habitual feeling, that feeling come back, and recognize like, okay, that's just the feeling of worry or coming back to me, and it's okay. It's not reality. It's not reality. So let's just worry about what's real. Let's focus on what's real, and take that moment and that feeling and just kind of put it to the side, and just say, you know what? I acknowledge that feeling. I recognize why it's there, and you know what? It doesn't need to be there, and I'm actually okay. So yeah, nothing to worry about. And try to resolve it that way. Resolve it in a calm environment. Resolve it in a way that's realistic. You know, because our minds like to play tricks on us, right? A lot. Our minds like to play a lot of tricks on us. We like to give in to bad temptation, and not even just temptations of food and things like that, but just temptations of like thinking poorly sometimes, right? Like, and so it's good to just acknowledge like, hey, that's not what's really going on right now. I'm okay. So let's keep on going as if this wasn't a thing. And eventually you'll tell that habit off enough times that you'll create a new habit, which is to relieve stress whenever it comes by acknowledging it and recognizing you don't have to actually feel stressed right now. It's a really weird thing because you actually have a habit and the habit doesn't go away. You just create a habit that blocks the other habit, which is not necessarily the best way to do things, but it is helpful. Yeah, you're creating a habit which blocks other habits, and that can be useful in many areas. It helps for emotional control, right? Emotional control. What is emotional control or emotional intelligence? What is it really? It's a habit of response to emotion. It's a habit of when you have an emotion that's strong, you have an emotion that's strong, it's coming, you have another habit that goes, wait a minute, stop right there. Let's think about this. And that's a habit to prevent emotion explosions, right? And so it's an okay habit to have. So you're creating another habit that helps to block stress, that says, hey, hold up, reality check, everything is fine. Okay, cool. Let's just take this stress and just say, I'm not going to worry about it. It's not real. Let's continue on with life, sort of thing. Does it happen right away? No, habits take a while to form, but you can form them. And I think that would be my best personal things that I've done. That's something I can recommend. I'm sure there's better stuff out there if you talk to an actual psychologist or therapist who knows how to remove the habit. I don't know how to remove the habit. I just know how to create a blocker for it that helps in other areas of life as well. So it's not a bad thing to create a new habit like this. But it is different than actually getting rid of the habit. So I'm just putting that disclaimer out there, and that I don't know how to actually remove the habit, or that I'll just keep on using the word habit. You know what I mean. And I'm sure a therapist out there probably knows the actual way to remove it. So if you want to talk to a therapist about it, I think that would be smart. They would know. Well, at least a learned therapist would know. So, and maybe Joe knows. I mean, I don't know he's talked to a lot of therapists. So,
Yeah.
so yeah. If Princess wants to go, yeah, Princess, feel free.
The other aspect of this is a matter of, we are human beings. We're full of wonderful things, including chemicals. And that's a lot of the signaling that happens in your body is chemical signaling. And so that's often why there can be numbness, some of it physical, some of it emotional, is because you have chemical responses that are trying to tell you something. And so your brain is going to respond to it. But sometimes if it's an extra flood of it, there are times where your receptors will be shutting themselves off temporarily, or in very rare cases permanently, but usually just temporarily of, whoa, I am overwhelmed by this. We need to just shut it all off because we're getting too much signal.
Absolutely.
Which can lead to numbness. And sometimes this is just, a normal thing. You get overwhelmed, something happened for some reason, maybe you don't totally understand it, but your body just responded that way, and it'll go away. If it is also a persistent problem, it might be worth checking out with, again, professional help of a therapist or a doctor. I'm not quite sure who. Sometimes there are depression or anxiety cases that are related to a chemical imbalance.
Yep.
It's not actually, you or something wrong with you doing something wrong. It's something that is deficient with your body that you can't really control, because it's just, something that happened somewhere along, all the billions of systems and pathways that are working in your body every day for all of your life. So, it might be another good idea that if you see this as a consistent pattern that keeps occurring, that it might be, could be some other underlying thing if you're not seeing other reasons. It could also be helpful just to see, professional help to see if they think that this is a condition or a disorder, or whether this is something else. So that was all I wanted to add. They had very good things about different things and why you can be stressed, and stress has all sorts of different responses for all different people, because stress generally hits the fight or flight or freeze response, where it's your body trying to protect you, right, from a perceived threat. But living in our modern world, we aren't fighting the things that our body is equipped for, like fighting an animal that's going to attack you. You're not going to be attacked in your classroom or wherever you're at, but your brain may still be trying to respond to it in that way. So I think professionals would be the best equipped to help you be able to face whatever you're going through with this. Because it's really tough when it's like, I can't see what's wrong. I've checked all the usual things that it could be, and it's none of these. So it could just be that, you're overly stressed and it's been a while, and your body just is like, I need a break. Just gonna shut off emotions for a bit. Or it could be that there's something going on that might need attention from someone who's better equipped than we are. So that's all I have to add.
Yeah, thanks, Princess. And absolutely. Yes. Yeah, you're so right. Chemical issues with your brain, maybe not even issues, natural things that happen, can cause a lot of numbness, and or even stress. But yeah, just especially numbness, having used up your chemicals, or your brain doesn't produce a sufficient amount of them, or even something like you haven't eaten the right kind of food to produce the nutrients or chemicals that you need. Now, this is a very rare case, but it does happen. If someone eats too much of one thing without enough other things in their diet, they actually you can acquire certain forms of mental imbalance or chemical imbalances, which prevent you from feeling certain things. So it's really interesting, but I doubt that's the case. I'm sure you have a relatively healthy balance of food. in your life. So, yeah. Joe, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I did just a little bit, and I love what both of you have gotten at already. And Princess, I want to second the whole chemical thing. A lot of times, that's what the medications are there to do, to address some kind of a chemical imbalance that's going on. And so, they can help that with medication, and that's awesome. But you're really only going to know that if you go see a therapist. So if you go down this list that we've already gone through, and you're checking these off, and you're like, yep, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that, it could be something hidden that you don't know about, or that you don't realize, or something that you subconsciously do that, it's something that you've trained yourself to do over the course of time that you automatically do. And I'll give you my personal example. And it took probably 3 or 4 sessions with my therapist before we got to this point. And here, it was interesting because we went through all these different things, and through our conversations, my therapist, she asked a whole bunch of questions about different things. And so she was kind of, getting her collection of what the picture of my life was like, right? And it was really amazing because over the course of that, now, see, we're not professionals on this show, and we don't have the time to ask you all these questions, nor do we know the right questions to ask, right? A therapist is going to know this, right? So it was very interesting. So what we discovered through this, through all these questions and figuring this stuff out, my biggest struggle was with depression. And, we went through all these different things. She's like, okay, you exercise, how's your sleep? I got my sleep back up, I reduced caffeine, got, water, up, all these things were all moving in the right direction. And what we discovered through these questions, she's like, huh, you know what I think's going on? And I'm like, what's that? She said, okay, I think you are freezing your anger. And I was like, interesting, because I never really, I'm not a person that gets angry very much. And she's like, exactly. Because you have a lot of things going on in your life that could and should rightfully make you angry.
Right.
And so, but what had happened was over the course of time, over the course of years, I had developed a habit of immediately when something would stimulate an anger response in me, I would shut it down, and I would just, set it aside, bury it as quickly as possible. I wouldn't even realize that the anger would pop up. I would just freeze it. And she said, what happens then is that still sits. You didn't let it go. You didn't process it properly. You just froze it. And now it's sitting there, and it's frozen anger becomes depression. So her assignment was very, very peculiar. This was like I said, my 3rd or 4th therapy appointment. I got my first assignment for an exercise to do that week. She said, I need you to cultivate anger in yourself, because you aren't there are things that should make you angry and you don't get angry. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I kind of wore that as a badge of courage, right? Like, I'm like, hey, you know what? I don't get angry. I don't respond. I'm not one of those angry people, right? And she's like, well, all anger is a heightened physical response. It's that response of readiness to do something. That's all anger is. Now we can use that anger aggressively. We can use that anger passive aggressively. We can use that anger, there's all kinds of different responses we can do. But she said, you're just freezing it and dismissing it immediately and not processing it. So she said, I need you to make yourself angry and then do something physical. And I have a martial arts punching bag. She's like, yep, just go to town on that thing. experience your anger, let yourself be angry, and then just take it out on that martial arts bag. She's like, experience your anger and play your drums, play some music that's really angry, that makes you angry, like, metal that's angry metal, right? And just play your drums. And like, I think I broke like 4 drumsticks that week or something like that.
Nice.
Ridiculous. But,
Nice.
so, but that's not necessarily the case for you, Ash. That was just the case for me, what was going on for me. But the point I'm making here is that a therapist would be able to figure that out in you. If you're still dealing with this issue, if you're still having a problem here, then a therapist, through those questions, is going to be able to determine what might be lying underneath that you don't know about, that you have maybe hidden away somewhere. And then that therapist will be able to bring that back up and give you the tools to then do it properly, if that makes sense. So that's really all I wanted to say. I just wanted to, let you know, this could be something that's hidden beneath the surface that you don't really that you're not aware of. And in my case, with the anger thing, it wasn't something I was aware of, even to the point where I had considered it a virtue that I was acting that way. But in reality, what I was doing was I was causing my own depression with that supposed virtue, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's all.
Yeah. Well said. And Ash, as you said, it can be a scary prospect to tell your parents, like, hey, I would like to go see a therapist, or something like that. It is an uncomfortable scenario for sure. I don't think there's any way of getting around that. I think the best thing you can do is, if you do want to, if the problem doesn't solve itself, if you don't feel like it's changing over time, or you're not making any headway for a period of time, and you recognize, like, hey, you know what? I think I need to go see a therapist to really understand what's going on. The best thing you can do is... Huh?
Oh, sorry.
Go on.
Ash has a thing in here. The thing with medication and actual therapy, though, is I would have to tell my parents, and part of me feels that they wouldn't believe me, and I'm just uncomfortable talking about stuff like that to them. I definitely know the feeling, right? I know the feeling. But if it gets to that point, your parents love you. They want what's best for you, right? And if you really come to them and just say, hey, I'm struggling to figure this out. I really don't know how to figure this out. And I think I need to talk to somebody about it because I'm at a loss, right? And I remember feeling that way with my parents. And I remember my parents also trying to kind of be my therapists, and that can happen too.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point I had to just be like, Mom, you're an anatomy professor. Dad, you're a chemist.
Kids are smart, but please.
Like, I think I need to actually see a therapist about this, right? And then, when my therapist was able to pinpoint some of that stuff, then they realized, like, oh my gosh, like, this was beyond the scope of my ability to help my child. They want to help you, right? But they also want to be the ones to help you rather than finding someone else who can help you because they're your parents.
Which you can
right?
turn around for a person who's like that, like my mom. I love my mom dearly. She wants to help and she wants to do something about it. Is saying, hey, what you can do for me is you can help me find a therapist.
Yeah.
And Ash, we've heard from your parents before that, well, not from your parents, but we've heard about you. We've heard from you about your parents before, and I think it's really apparent that they really care about you. They think the world of you. So they, for as much as you feel like they wouldn't believe you, I think that they probably would, or they would want to help you, regardless of whether they totally get it or not. Parents, most of them generally really love their children and really want what's best for them, really want to help them. even though they're not really capable of being the exact ones that do it, but
Hmm.
they can still support you. And again, as long as you can kind of also, if it goes down that way, you can kind of turn it that way of, you guys can help me. You can help me by helping me find someone who can help me.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
So,
Well said.
sorry to turn it back to Ryan. I know you had something you were in the middle of that we kind of interrupted on.
No,
We
you guys just
totally
covered
did.
everything I was
We
going to say,
we
so it's perfect.
we
I didn't
hijacked
have to say it
your
now.
statement.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, it's yeah, exactly. I was just going to say basically a approach. Um, if you if it's to a point where you're like, you know what, I want to solve this, and my parents are the people I have to tell to get a therapist, then I think you have to approach in a way that is very mature, and very I was in a way that you look like you show that you have thought about it, right? So oh, okay, you said my mom has depression and anxiety, but I feel like she still wouldn't think I was telling the truth. That's fair. It's
Do you think
possible,
she wouldn't think
but
that you're telling the truth, or do you think she'd be worried about you having it because she's experiencing similar things and she wouldn't want that to be the truth?
That's a possibility. I can see that. I can also see the possibility of, depending on the parent. Now, I don't know your parents, but there are people that are adults that look at kids and say, "What do you have to be depressed about? You got kid problems. Those are just little kid problems. Like you look at my life. I got real problems, right?" And
and
like,
then most of their problems relate back to when they were a kid. Yeah.
yeah.
It's like it's
Yep.
so true.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you feel like she would think that you're lying.
Okay.
I can understand that.
Um. I don't know. I would if because I mentioned something about hiding how I really feel, and she laughed and said I have nothing to hide, basically saying you weren't depressed. Okay. Um. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I would say if you feel like you need to approach your parents, you could always, I don't know, if you have both parents available to you and you think your one would reason with you and one would not, go to the one that would reason with you. Um, but what you can do is just say, look, I have some issues in my brain that I want to really figure out, and it's not such a big deal, but for my general health, I'd like to see if a therapist might understand what's going on. And I think that if you approach it from an angle that lets your mom know, like, you've thought about it, you can always say that. You're like, I've thought about this a lot, and I think that um, I don't know the answer, and no one else knows the answer, but I know a therapist would. So I'd like to go see a therapist because they're the only ones that would know the answer to this and actually have it right. So I think that giving that angle would help them go, okay, sure, because they can't deny that. They can't deny you that. They could say, well, they could try to argue that, oh, I know what's going on. I'm a human being. I've felt all these emotions before, you know, but that's not true. It's like you have depression yourself. So, um, I, I'm not saying that you're stupid, but I am saying that none of us are smart at everything, you know? So, um, yeah, I don't know. It can be hard, but if you feel like you need to do it, then I would say you can absolutely approach your parents. Don't be afraid. Everyone feels worried about it. Everyone feels like, oh, are they going to take me seriously? Everyone feels that way. Everyone does. Um, so I just want to convey that everybody feels that way, so that you recognize that that isn't necessarily how it's going to go. We all have these fears, right? These fears hold
Mhm.
us back from moving forward a lot of times, especially when it comes to our mental health.
Mhm.
We are worried because we're kind of broken inside. We're all broken. We all don't. None of us have a perfectly working mind. It's just true. And
Mhm.
and then we worry about, like, well, should I see someone? Is that a waste of time? Am I worthy of that? Is that even something that they could, like? Are they gonna just look at me and send me away? Are they gonna be like, wow, you didn't figure this out yet. Like all sorts of different things cross our mind. And the truth is, we all have those, and they're all dumb. We should just go forward with it. And honestly, if your mom says no, just ask her again. Say, hey, I'm being sincere about this. I'm being sincere about this. I would really like to go, please. I'm trying to do something that other people run away from, and that is try to get my mental health in order. So please, actually let me. Like that'd be really nice. Thank you. And if you do it enough, I think that she would give in.
The other thing you might be able to do, I don't know if do you have access to a school counselor? Otherwise, you could possibly also, if you felt like you needed to have reinforcement, you could also reach out if you have a trusted school teacher. I don't know if you have one, but if you do, sometimes having an adult in your corner where you're like, hey, Mr. or Mrs. whoever you are.
That's a great point,
You know,
Princess.
would you I've been having struggles with, just not being myself, and I think that I might benefit from seeing a therapist, but I don't know if my parents would totally be like believe me. Would you be willing to reach out to them on my behalf too? I know that can be that can bring anxiety too, because it's still like bringing it up to your parents, and they'll be like, they might pull the "why didn't you tell us" card, and it's like, well, you guys haven't been super inviting on that, but in the end, sometimes if that you think will help give you more credibility, sometimes that can be helpful, even if you know that it might make things harder or more complicated. And you can even do that after you ask your mom. You can be like, hey, mom, I'd like to see one, and if she, dismisses you in that sort of sense, then you can try and see if you can reach out to either a school counselor or a trusted school teacher that you have. An adult that can be like, hey, I'm hearing this from your daughter, and I feel like this is something that you should really, consider. And sometimes that can help. Hearing it from a teacher is like, whoa, they an adult is involved. And sometimes for some people that just gets them in the mental space of this is serious, rather than hearing it from someone who's younger.
That is absolutely true.
Shouldn't be that way, but sometimes it is.
Yep, no, that's so true. And also just in general, when you have another authority figure involved, it makes you just go, oh crap, now I actually have to do something. And it changes your mood about things. So it's so true. What Princess said would be the perfect strategy. If your mom doesn't respect it, you can go to a counselor or teacher. Absolutely. Cool. Anything else from either of you?
I think that's it. That's all I got.
Awesome.
Ash, you're awesome, and I know this can be a real struggle. Know that we love you.
Okay. He said the reason I feel like they wouldn't believe me is because around them I don't act like them. Around them I don't act like I'm depressed or stressed out. When I can't focus on anything, I just use ADHD as an excuse. I love you guys. Thanks for all your help. Okay, one quick question. Are you on Ritalin?
Or Adderall.
Or Adderall?
Or either. One of those.
Are you on Ritalin or Adderall for your ADHD? No. Nope. Okay, good. I was just going to say, because those are suppressants and they will absolutely make you feel numb. They will absolutely make you feel exactly like you described. Because that's what those things do. They're huge suppressors. But okay. If you're not on either of those, then cool. They're not evil. People who are on them, they're helpful.
Oh, absolutely not. Yep. They can be very, very helpful. But yes, one of the things that they do is like exactly what Ryan said. They can make you feel like that.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Okay, cool. You stopped taking it 2 years because they weren't working. All right, no problem. All right. Well, cool. Thank you so much, Ash. You're amazing. We love you a lot, and we appreciate you being here and for sharing your struggles with us. I hope that something we said might move you forward. Yeah, I know we said a lot, so hopefully something clicked and was remembered. But yeah, Oh, they were giving you headaches. Yeah, that's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So, what time is it? It's 9:30. Perfect. Okay, we can totally do more.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome, Ash. So I'm gonna run through this list of names once more, and if anybody is here, please say so. We've got Nihilus, Wandering Soul, Sparrow, Meow the Doe, Shark Jelly, Toby, Saule, Patrick, Pun Master, and Warspite.
Mm.
Princess is saying we should do the anonymous next. We can do an anonymous. I do see Meowlido, but if Princess says we should do it, then we should probably do it. She knows well.
She be in charge, man.
She's pretty much in charge. So, I mean, I'm the host, but I do confide in her often. So, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. So this is titled Studying in a Strange City Far From Home.
No.
Is that the right one?
Nope.
That's not the one. There's another anonymous one.
There should be communicating with friends.
Yes. From
Aha.
May the 4th be with you.
Got it. Sorry, there's two anonymous. So okay. Communicating with friends is the title of this one. There's multiple anonymi, apparently. Okay.
Anonymous.
Anonymi. And this sounds like alumni. Sounds like it's a good thing. It is a good thing, but regardless. Okay. Communicating with friends. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the question here. And then Princess can feel free to read it out loud. Whenever you're ready, Princess. Thank you.
Hey, this might be a bit embarrassing for me, but I would like to share it. Sometimes it is difficult for me to communicate with others. It's a problem to do so. Many times when someone talks to me, the conversation is very short, and I don't know how to continue the conversation. After that problem, I think a lot that if there are friends who don't come and talk to me constantly, that it could be they hate me, or that I'm just a friend for my kindness or for pity. But I really want to talk to them. I really want to be able to follow conversations and have a good time with my friends, showing my personality. It's just that the reality is that I feel bad every week, overthinking and wanting to disappear from the place and go home because seeing other people talking freely, maybe it makes me a little envious. I don't know if that could be understood. Sorry. From Anonymous.
Oh, well, let me tell you, I can absolutely relate to this. I absolutely understand this, Anonymous, and I feel for you. I know I was in this place for a very long time in my life, and it isn't easy. In fact, it's very what's the word? I don't know. It feels like you're repressed, and you just can't, there's just all of this worry. It's just so suppressive, repressive, and it's really hard. And so I do relate to this. I do understand, and or at least I think I do. I know I've been in at least a very similar situation for like all of my early life, until I was at the end of high school, that I even noticed that this was going on with me. And so I'm really happy, Anonymous, that you're bringing it up and you're noticing these things and you're contemplating them and you're looking for the way out. And I think that's so valuable. So I'm excited to hear what Joe says. I'm excited for you because I know that for me, this was a very pivotal and important part of my life that helped me change a lot, is just recognizing it. And so, I'm looking forward to see what Joe's got to say on this. So I'm going to give it over to him.
You're going to give it over to me, and I'm going to make a mess. It's going to be awesome.
Perfect.
Just you wait and see. Anonymous, I also understand where you're at. I understand the conversational roadblocks and different things that, can come into play when, we feel like we don't have the right thing to say. We can't come up with the right thing to say, all this kind of stuff, right? And I've been there. for sure. I've been there. And, there's an interesting, okay, there are three things I want to touch on in my part here. One is there's a book called QBQ, The Question Behind the Question. I think it's by John G. Miller. I think. This book, it's a great book. It's written as a story, so it's really easy to read. So it's a parable, if you will. It's a story that teaches us stuff, right? And then there are little things at the end of each chapter that point out, like, here's the thing you were supposed to learn, in this little section of the story, right? So it's really cool because you have those pointed out to you as well. But in that book, they talk about, asking a question, and it might be just some silly, dumb question, like, hey, it looks nice out here. The weather's great. What time is it? 4:30, right? And you can start a conversation with just anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the question, but what this book teaches is about how to, so you start the conversation with something really small or little, or maybe something really obvious. Maybe you notice something on the wall and you're like, man, what is that spot on the wall? Like whatever. And even that can start a conversation about something. And you don't have to necessarily come up with great, profound things to say to keep a conversation going. You just have to listen to the people talking. And when you ask a question about whatever and you listen to their answer, somewhere in their answer will be a signpost to a new question that you can ask, and you can further develop the conversation. Now, some people, it can be hard to talk to them. And also depending on their mood, maybe they don't want to talk to anybody right now. Ideally, I have 2 kids, and one of them's a teenager. And so there are moments when it's like he just doesn't want to talk, or neither of them want to talk, and that totally is fine, and I'm not going to try and beat a conversation out of them, with a bunch of questions when they don't want to talk. I want to try and be respectful of them, wanting to be quiet, and totally that's fine. But conversations can flourish. So QBQ, The Question Behind the Question, that's a great book. How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People by Les Giblin. That is also a great book on learning conversation skills, learning how to, just kind of relax and let yourself say stuff. Because so many times when I was trying to think of the right thing to say, I was totally just not allowing myself to be relaxed and naturally say whatever would flow out.
Mm-hmm.
That, like when we can just relax and I think the sentence in the book says when we can let our tongues wag, just however they will, conversations flourish. And so those are some things to keep in mind. Those are some books that you can, get a hold of. The QBQ, The Question Behind the Question, and How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People by Les Giblin. Those 2 books can really help with conversation stuff, right? And you're going to learn some stuff, and it's good. And you're going to learn about people skills, which is really important, right, in living our lives, because we live our lives around other people. And people skills is a great skill. People skills?
Yes.
People skill is a great set of skills.
Yeah.
Because it's plural, right? So
Are.
there's... Huh?
People skills are,
Yes.
not is.
Are great skills to have. People,
Yeah,
okay.
whatever. Grammar, it doesn't matter. We all got what you meant first time.
Are a great
Anyways,
set of skills to have.
Yeah.
thank you. You're wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna put in the chat the most multifaceted word in existence. There. And it comes out as a question. That's it. That's the word.
Oh, really? Why's that?
Oh, really? Why is that? Right? So now here's the thing. When you're talking, I remember a guy talking about, he was trying to figure out how to have conversations with people. And he was like, okay, so I might start with something like, hey, what do you do? Like, what do you do for a living? Or what do you like? What kinds of stuff do you like? And he's talking about meeting a new person in this context, right? But you can do this with anybody. You can do this with somebody that you know a lot, that you've known for a long time, and just ask them about something about them, about their shirt, right? Now, this is, oh, really? Why is that? That's the word. And you don't have to use the whole word. You can say, oh, really? You can say, why? You can say, why is that? You can say, oh.
Oh. That would be funny if a conversation just ended with you going, oh, and then there was just silence. If that happens, just say, finish the word. Really, why is that?
Yeah. Yep. But this is something that you can use, and it totally takes a lot of pressure off of you of trying to come up with something to say, because all you're doing is you're saying, really? Really? Why is that? No kidding, really? And so these are some things that you could say that keep conversations going. And the point is to keep them talking, especially when you are having trouble coming up with something to say. Because the conversation, if you allow somebody else to drive the conversation and you just say, oh, really, why is that 6 times? They're going to love you. They're going to think you're a great conversationalist. And, it's going to be amazing. It's amazing how that works,
Mm-hmm.
Like people think I'm a great conversationalist when I say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And when I just say things like, no kidding. Like, really? Wow. It's crazy. Why did that happen? Just little things like that. And I let them just go and talk. And then they're like, man, you're a great conversationalist. You're really easy to talk to. And that's a great thing to do. So that's the second thing. So we had the 2 books, and then we had the multifaceted word. Oh, really? Why is that? And the third thing I wanted to touch on was my friend Daryl. Those of you who have heard the story about my friend Daryl, you know this already. But anonymous, maybe you don't know about my friend Daryl. I had this friend from high school. His name was Daryl. He's awesome. And he was one of the coolest, nicest, most kind people I've ever met in my entire life, ever. And I think over the course of he was a year younger than me, so I knew him 3 years in high school. Over the course of those 3 years, I probably heard him say about 12 words. But most of the time, he would just stand there with the group of people, and he'd smile. And he'd look at you, and he'd smile. He just had this face, he'd just smile and listen, and let other people talk and listen and smile. And he'd just hang around there. And it was crazy. Every once in a while, he'd say something, but very rarely. Most of the time, he just stood there quiet and let everybody else talk and just was there smiling. He was just a calm, friendly presence. So it's amazing, whenever I talk about conversations, like when conversations is the topic of conversation, I like to bring up my friend Daryl because everybody loved the guy. He was one of the easiest people to be around. You didn't ever feel like he was judging you. He was just there. And so the point I'm making with my story about Daryl is that you don't necessarily have to say much in order to be considered a great friend, in order to be, you know, part of that friend group, in order to still be accepted and loved. You don't have to say much. You don't have to come up with things to say. You don't have to drive conversations. You can just be around and be a friendly person that's around. Now, there might be people that don't want to be around someone who's that quiet, and that's fine. You can find other friends too. But yeah, those are the points I wanted to make. So, those 2 books, Oh Really Why Is That, and Think of Daryl. And that can take a lot of the pressure off. You know, the knowledge from the books can help take the pressure off. You know, when you can think in terms of, oh, really, why is that? I don't have to say much. I can just ask questions. I can just say, really. I can just say, why. I can say, oh, no kidding. You know, like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That takes a lot of the pressure off too. And then even more, Daryl takes a ton more pressure off because I don't have to say anything. I can just sit there and smile and just be comfortable to be around. That's it. And the conversations can happen all around you. You know what's great about the Daryl thing, though? The kid, as far as I could tell, he didn't have any flaws because he never said anything for me to pick out any flaws.
Nice.
I got really talkative. People knew my flaws right off the bat, right?
Mm-hmm. Smart.
Yep. So, anyway, that's what I got. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Ryan.
Nice.
And I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Well, I guess me too. Or wait. Well, whatever. You know,
Wait, I'm just reading the chat, and I just saw what you said. Princess also wanted to, but Joe wanted to more. I was like, what? What is that about? And then I had to go up.
Yeah. So, anyways, okay. So like, Joe started this off really well because one thing that I learned that made the biggest impact on my conversations with people is this one little quote. I mean, I'm quoting myself because I made it, but it's fine. I change the quote all the time, anyways. But it goes. It's simple. It goes like this. And anybody who's been here before, I'm sorry for repeating myself. But what matters most when dealing with others is not what you look like to them, but what they look like to themselves when you're around them. And I'll say it again. What matters most in dealing with people is not what you look like to them, but what they look like to themselves when you're around them. It's the truth. If you want, like, you think of the best friends you've ever had in life. Are they the people that made you feel good about who you were? The answer is yes. The answer is going to be yes, because if you think about the other way around, you think about people who didn't make you feel good, or the people who don't change how you feel about yourself. You don't generally, like, you might call them friends, like acquaintances, maybe people you hang out with, but you don't think of them in such an extraordinary way. When you get around someone who makes you feel good about yourself, you get that feeling of like, man, I just want to be around them more. I just want to be around them more. Always, actually. Like, it's easy to find someone who makes you feel good about yourself and just immediately feel almost obsessed. Because you just recognize, like, wow, that person made me feel good. And I just think the world of them. And I just want to be around them. And that is a wonderful trait, which is done in practice by a lot of the things Joe just said. When you ask people, oh, really, why is that? You know, when you ask people, like, about themselves, and then you listen intently, and you affirm them in those things. Affirm. you make them feel good about the things that they said. That's super important. So when someone is, talking to you and they're carrying on, right? You ask them, anything, or you approach them like, this is what I started with when I was starting to learn how to talk to people finally. I started with things that were really basic, like, wow, I really like your pants. Those jeans are really nice. Where'd you get them? Things like that. Things that I physically could see that made me think good about the other person. I let them know I liked that about them. And then I asked a question about it. They would carry on, and I would try to dig out more answers. And whatever they responded with, I would give them an affirmation. An affirmation being something about what they said that I liked, that I thought was a good quality. For example, if they said, I could already prepare this answer, but like if I asked them about their jeans, they said, wow, those are really nice jeans. Where'd you get them? They could say anything. Oh, I don't know. My mom got them for me. I got them for Christmas. I went to this store here and I picked them out myself. Oh, really? You like these? Oh, interesting. Or they could say, I think they're a little bit too baggy, or I don't really like them. I just, the last pair in my drawer. I'm surprised you liked them. Anything could be a response for what they say. But no matter what they say, you can still make them feel good about their choice, about what they did. Because you've already made them feel good by pointing out something nice. And then you can follow it up with another statement and being like, wow, you have a really good taste. Or, really, you threw those on now. Well, I think that they're really great. And you can allow the conversation to end there. But what's going to happen is now you've created a friend, someone who looks at you and goes, I feel good when I'm around them. I want to be around them more. Conversation isn't about making the conversation as long as possible. Conversation is about, making it so that you have more in the future. Wanting to continue that conversation later. Wanting to make an impact so more will be discussed and so you can impact people more. I mean, conversation is for many things, right? Originally to communicate things, right? But we also use conversation for many other things outside of communication, like entertainment or just trying to gain favor with someone. And it is okay to do those things. So if you're looking to improve your conversational skills, I would absolutely go with Joe said. And keep in mind that the objective is to make sure that they feel good about who they are when you're talking to them. Because if they feel good about who they are, you've given them the thing that everyone longs for. You have. You have given him the secret juice that everybody longs for. Why? Everybody longs to feel good about themselves. Happiness. Happiness is often defined as being satisfied with oneself and the world around them. When you are satisfied with yourself, it is hard not to be happy. So, if you can treat people to that, then that is the most beautiful thing you can ever do. Like for that other human being when it comes to conversation. And so if you can nail this one thing, you've tapped into the secret juice that runs people's lives. Yes. Because we do everything we do because we want to be happy. Most people live their whole lives making choices because they think that's what's going to make them happy. Including doing things that you would absolutely disagree with. You're like, that would not make you happy. But that's why they did it. They're under the illusion that doing this one thing would make them happy. And so I would say, if you can just think continuously of when you're interacting with people, that your job is to make them feel good about themselves. That's your job. Because if you give them that, you give them the secret juice. You give them, it's like spiking their drink with joy. And, that is the key. That is the key. And I think that is something everyone is capable of doing. That is something everybody is capable of doing. Even people who are incredibly autistic and they have very poor language skills. And I know this is true because I've met autistic people with incredibly poor language skills who don't communicate right. They have a very strong lisp, but they still make you feel important because they clearly want to be a part of your life, and they clearly are proud of you, and they clearly show what type of things they look at you and see and that they find attractive, and that's awesome. And so and that's an extreme case, right, with someone who's an autistic person, and yet here you are, probably not autistic, maybe you are, but probably you're not, and so you have the same skill, you have the same ability to present that skill, and that is very simply, when you look at that person, what good do you see? Let them know about it, and continue the conversations. Like, you can affirm someone and continue a conversation at the same time. When you say, "Oh, really? Why is that?" it shows that you're interested, right? And that what they said was interesting and cool. But you can also take a few seconds to add something like, "Wow, that's a really thought out statement. That was a really well thought out," or, "Wow, that shows a lot of strength," or blah, blah, blah. And then continue with your next question, or continuing on, like you say, "Wow, that's really well thought out. What do you think about this situation? What do you think about this scenario?" So whatever it is, you can sort of add in something. If someone's talked to you about something, maybe they have a problem. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they're just exhausted and they're like, "I don't know what to do in this scenario," and they're coming to you for help. I think that's awesome. That also is a great time to communicate. That's actually the perfect time you want to make someone feel good about themselves, because they're already struggling with themselves. So if someone comes to you with a problem, you can say, "Wow, I mean, I'm honored that you'd come to me, because honestly, I think I would come to you if I had the same problem. What do you think so far? What are your thoughts on this problem? What do you think you should do?" And then they'll answer, they'll let you know, and then they'll probably say, "I don't know. That's why I'm here. I don't know. This is frustrating." And then you can give them some advice if you feel like you can, but to continuously throw it back into their favor of finding things, like they say something, you can go, "Wow, that was actually a really interesting way of thinking about it. I'd never really thought about it that way." Stuff like that. And then asking a question for them to continue talking about that thought process, or to explain the thought process and things like that, and affirm them and make them feel good about the way that they're thinking about it. Even if they're maybe slightly off, maybe, that happens. Because what you do is, if you affirm them and you show them respect, like they're intelligent, they're going to look back at you and think you're intelligent and respect you and want to hear what you have to say. It is absolutely wild, but it is 100% true about communicating with people. If you let them know that you believe they're intelligent, they will think in their brain, they will do this funny thing, and they won't even know that they do it. But this is what their brain is going to do. They're going to be like, "Wow, they think I'm smart." And I am. So that must mean that they're smart. Because you would be dumb if you didn't think I was smart, right? Anyone who doesn't think I'm smart is dumb. But anyone who thinks I'm smart, clearly very intelligent, because they agree with me, and I am definitely smart.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and people don't have that thought. They don't speak to themselves that way. But it's what happens in their brains. To most people. I'm going to say like 99.9% of people. That's what happens in their brains. When you agree with someone on something and you let them know that, "Wow, that was really intelligent," they think higher of you. They think you're smarter for telling them that. They don't look at you and go, "Wow, that person's really dumb. Clearly I am more intelligent." They don't have those thoughts so much. They have more thoughts of like, "Wow, this person recognizes what intelligence is. So clearly they must be intelligent too." And so if someone comes to you with anything, let them know that you think that they're intelligent. And what is it going to do? It's going to give you respect, and it's going to make them want to hear you. And listen to you with respect, and really actually want to carry out those type of things that you suggest for advice and so on and so forth. So those are some really important key things for communicating. I think there's another section here, and that is the matter of not just communicating, but when you hold yourself back because you're afraid of what other people will think of you, right?
Mm.
And I've been in that area for a
Mm-hmm.
really long time in my life, and oops, I'm glad that I'm blessed that I was able to get out of that, and there were a lot of things that helped me along that path of getting out of that feeling of like everyone's judging me. I need to bite my tongue on everything so that I don't stand out. And everything I say, I worry about it. I say it maybe multiple times in my head before I even say it because I'm worried that other people will think I'm stupid or laugh at me, etc. I remember going through that for a very long period of time, and being very happy to get out of it when I did. So I want to just say it's awesome that you are where you are and that you're looking to get out because you recognize it. And I think that's so, so awesome. And it's totally 100% possible to progress from where you are. 100%. So I just want to give you that encouragement right now, because don't think you can't do it. Don't think that you can't eliminate that process in your mind that says, uh-oh, hold back, bite my tongue. People are going to think blah, blah, blah about me. And get to a point where you're not worried whether people think good or bad about you, but actually you can just be yourself at all times. And you even get to a point where you recognize, you know what, people are generally going to like me. In general, most people are just going to like me. And the people who don't, that's fine. I don't need them to like me. That's not the point of living in the first place. But if they do, that's awesome. And we can make friends. If they don't, then that's okay. They're on their way. I guess I just don't need to have an influence with that person. That's not in my realm, and that's totally fine. And it doesn't bother you. And I think, and you can totally get to that point. You can totally get to that point where you're at peace. You're just at peace with the way other people think of you. And what I'm going to do is, if Joe's okay with it, I'm going to throw it over to him to talk about this issue first, because I know that he has a lot of good information for this, from conversations we've had in the past, and from how he's helped me in little ways with this as well. So he might not feel like he's a professional or an excellent example of this, but I know that he is, whether he argues against it or not.
You talked about a few things there. What are you throwing at me?
Everything. Good luck. No. Mainly the topic of like how to get from the point where you're worried about what everyone thinks and you feel suppressed and you can't be yourself, right? Because you're so worried about what other people think about what you say or what you do. How do you move past that point? How do you get to the point where you can just be at peace with whatever people think, and you recognize that people will generally like you if you just act yourself?
Yeah. Yes, I can talk about progress in both directions actually now.
Mm-hmm. Good. You got this.
Well, because now, I mean, those like, okay, so you guys know it's funny because I spent a lot of time building these skills, right? And getting to this point. And then it's funny, like you have big life changes. Like right now, there's a divorce happening in my life, right? And now I go to sporting events, and so now I have to be really, really, really careful about everything I say because everything I say is being absolutely scrutinized, and like, so so now it's kind of gone back to the other way a little bit. But where now I'm a little bit more afraid in those contexts, right? So
Right.
just in those environments. But okay. So anyway, yes, this great question. Here's the thing, Anonymous. It's going to be uncomfortable at first.
Heck yeah.
I promise. That I can promise you. It's going to be uncomfortable, right? And it's okay. It's okay. Because, discomfort, it's just discomfort. Ryan says something really, really great all the time. He says, embrace the awkward. And what
I got that
awkward
from
to
a
me
nun, by the way.
from a nun?
Yeah, if I've never said that, I actually got that phrase from a nun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Embrace the awkward. I like it.
Yeah.
Yep, that's one awesome nun. But anyway, Yeah, so it's gonna be uncomfortable. Here's the thing. You know that "oh really, why is that" thing that I put up there? I remember I heard a guy talk about that. Everything that I talked about here, I stole from somebody else. I'm a plagiarist.
Oh. Okay, Joe, you might have to leave the show. No, I'm just kidding.
Kicked off,
Kicked off. Boo! No, it's great. We love you.
blocked, kicked out of the company. Yep, that's
voted out.
So no, like these are principles. Okay? Principles are timeless. People are people. I remember having this conversation with a guy recently, and I was like, you know what? People are people all the way from the beginning of time until now. People are people. We operate now. We're all individuals. We all have different things that make us tick. We all have different strengths and weaknesses and dreams and hopes and goals. And we're all, each and every single one of us, unique. Right? But we do have human aspects about us that we can learn to dance with in order to help our relations, our human relations, situations. Human relations situations.
Nice.
I like it. But anyway, when I first was learning this thing, I remember hearing the guy talk about, "oh, really, why is that?" And I was like, okay, I can use any part of this word. I can use why. That's really simple. It's one syllable, right? I can use why. Now, here's the funny thing. Like, I did this, and I remember talking to a guy, and I was like, and it was a friend of mine, and I was like, so how you say stuff matters. Because I was just learning this principle. And this is the first time I'm like, okay, I have these tools now. I have these techniques and things that I can take out of my pocket and I can throw them out there and I'm going to immediately be liked and everything's going to be awesome. And this friend of mine, right, I was kind of reconnecting with him and he's like, he's a police officer. And I was like, so man, so now you're a police officer over there. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, why?
Oh, snap. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I see the issue.
That one didn't go so well.
Uh-huh.
Right? I have just a long list of, I remember having so many experiences where I remember learning these things to say and do, but because I was saying them all wrong, I was not endearing people to me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say the words, but what was in my heart wasn't exactly right.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And so some of this stuff takes a little bit of a change in our hearts where we have to focus on loving that person. We have to focus on accepting that person. There's a 3A principle. It might be in the Les Giblin book, but accept, approve, and appreciate. So no matter what somebody's doing out there, accept them. You can accept them for where they're at. We can. Now, the world isn't going to tell you this. The world's going to tell you that we should be judgy. If you watch a lot of, I'm going to bash the news media a lot in this show. I'm sorry. But man, but seriously, like there's so much divisive stuff going on in our world, right? And then people get all uptight about stuff. And then like if somebody doesn't think exactly the way they do, like they've got something to judge them on and blah, 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 blah. And like, oh my gosh, like why would you wear your seatbelt? That's stupid. Like,
wow, okay.
Like seriously. Like there are people with all kinds of opinions, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I'm like, I wear my seatbelt because I'm a law-abiding citizen generally, and that's the law here, first of all, and then second of all, I was taught that's what keeps you safe in a car. You don't need to do that kind of nonsense, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, okay. So now comes to me, can I accept this person, not being a seatbelt wearer? you know? And yes, the answer is yes, I can, because there's more to him than his opinion on seatbelt wearing. Right?
Yep.
So I can accept him as a person regardless. You know? We've got the LGBTQ community, right? Can we accept each other? There's all kinds of people that and it kind of turned in for a while. It turned into this two-sided argument. Like there's the LGBTQ and then there's the everybody else. And they were like, rah, and then rah, and then rah. And there was all this crazy psychobabble going on, right? And everybody's mad at each other. Can we accept each other as people? Come on. Yes, we can. So that's step 1, accept people. Step 2, approve. That doesn't mean I have to approve of everything that they think. I don't have to. But I bet you they got something that I can approve of. That is a killer shirt, man. That shirt that says I'm with stupid and it has an arrow pointing over to the other side, like that shirt's great. You know, whatever. And so anyway,
I want one
can
that
we
says I'm with
approve
stupid
people?
and it just points up to my face.
Yes, I want that shirt too. Let's make it.
That's great.
Yep, we'll make it when we'll have a shower curtain too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's great.
But anyway, can we approve of people? We can find something to approve of in everybody. Okay? So yeah, accept, approve, and then appreciate. That thing you approve of or something about them, find something you can appreciate. You wouldn't want to hang around them if there wasn't something that attracted you to be near them. Right? I don't know much about my kid's track coach, but I had a great conversation with him today. And I'd met him before. He's one of the dads. I'd talked to him before.
Hmm.
But I don't know him all that well. But one thing I really, really appreciated about him was that he took the time to volunteer to coach these kids. He didn't get paid. It wasn't a paid position. He's a teacher at a different school.
Wow.
And he's coaching this track team because he wants to do it. Because his daughter wanted to run, and he ran when he was in high school. And he doesn't know everything. My son does shot put. He admitted to me, he's like, I don't know much about shot put, man. I ran the mile and the 2 mile when I was in track. I didn't do it. So I don't know much about that. I'm like, man, I appreciate you coaching. I appreciate you taking on that, that task of coaching all these kids, because there's a bundle of them on a track team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can appreciate that about him, even if I don't know much about him, and so, but that's the thing. When you get into a conversation with someone and like, if you can find something that you can, that first what was the first one? Accept them as a person. Next, approve of them as a person, because we can all approve of people as a person, and then we can find specific things we can approve of, and then find those things that we can appreciate as well. Those are things that we can do to kind of change our heart. So then we don't have the weird, we don't take these techniques that we've told you and use them incorrectly. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
These things can help us learn that. But more than anything, Anonymous, I want to tell you, it's going to feel awkward. You're going to fail. And that's okay. You're going to use every single one of these as a learning experience. Okay? It's not one of those things where you try it once, and if you didn't do it right, you give up on it and
you
say,
can never try
I'm
again.
not cut out for this. Right, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
it's silly.
not how this works. It's not how this works. Think of it like walking. How many times they say a kid falls down at least like 1,000 times while he's trying to learn how to
I thought it
walk?
was 99, but I don't remember the number.
I don't know the number. There's a bunch.
There's
They
probably a
fall
bunch of
down a
different people
whole
say.
bunch of times.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of times when they're trying to walk. You know, the way we're conditioned now as adults, because we get this mentality like if I'm not good at something right off the bat, then I should just not do it. I'm just not cut out for this.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if all of us were like that when we were learning how to walk. There'd be a whole bunch of people not walking.
Yeah.
We'd all be crying like, not trying that again, right? But this is like learning to walk. You're going to build on every single experience you have. So when you do fail, when you do fall, and you know, when one of these doesn't work like you wanted it to, think to yourself, okay, how can I do something different next time? Because there's going to be lots and lots of opportunities. Lots of them. Because there's lots of people in the world. So, yeah. I don't know. That's probably the best thing I can impart to you. Is that it's, you know, at the beginning, it's going to feel uncomfortable and you're not going to do everything right. But that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You just learn and continue and you grow. Just like in anything. I've been a drummer for 35 years-ish. Which is saying something because I'm 29 years old. I was not as good a drummer as I am today when I started. You know, I wasn't. I was really bad at it. I made a lot of noise for a lot of years with very gracious parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But now I feel like I'm pretty solid. And it's the same with anything. You know, it's the same here. It's a skill that's learned and developed over time. And you just do it. You just try. And it's okay. So, I don't know. Was that now that you've thrown it at me, are you thankful you did or did I mess it up?
Yeah, it was great. Thank you. Yeah, you didn't touch on anything I asked, but that's all right. No, just kidding.
I didn't know.
No, you did. You did. You know, like Joe was saying, when it comes to communication, and especially to the feeling of worrying about whatever people are thinking, what everyone's thinking, and it just really gets you down and it makes you, yeah, it's just awful, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing is where your heart's at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Joe's saying. Where's your heart? Is your heart on yourself? Well, if your heart's on yourself, which is fine, you're supposed to love yourself. That's important. Don't belittle yourself. In fact, what you're doing right now is not loving yourself. Because you don't love yourself enough to be honest and talk out loud. You're too afraid. You're not loving yourself enough to do... Well, I mean, what is love? Love is to desire the best for someone. Well, if you want the best for yourself, then you're going to have to let yourself be free to do what's good for you, right? And so, I mean, and I'm not saying you don't love yourself because, I mean, obviously you're coming here today and you're looking for advice and you're looking for ways to move past this. And that is loving yourself. That's trying to get the best for yourself. And so I love that you're here, right? But what I'm saying is that when you are picking at yourself and you're saying things like, well, hold on. I think a lot that if they are friends who don't come talk to me constantly, it could be that they hate me or that I'm just their friend for my kindness or for pity, right? Those are not thoughts that are loving thoughts to you. They are thoughts that are unfortunately not good, right? And so to remove those thoughts, You have to get your heart in the right place. And that is to kind of sometimes you have to get your heart off yourself. Allow yourself to be free, right? Joe said it's going to be uncomfortable. That is true. When I was working on this for myself, I realized I had to be more outspoken. I had to do the things that I was afraid to do, and that was be myself. I had to get outside my comfort zone, and I had to force myself to do the things that were going to be super awkward. And by doing those things, what happened? I recognized that awkwardness isn't so bad. Embarrassment isn't so bad. What was bad was me holding myself back. What was bad was me worrying about it, being so petrified by the idea of awkwardness, or being so petrified of possibly embarrassing myself that I was hurting myself. That was bad for me. But when I realized that those are just things that happen no matter what, because even when I'm afraid of them and I try to avoid them, they still happen. I still get embarrassed about things. I still do embarrassing things. I still fail. I still fall down on the ice, and other kids will laugh at me. Regardless of whether I'm trying to avoid embarrassment or not, that stuff happens. But when I just embraced it and I recognized, you know what? I'm going to do those things on purpose, just so I can get used to them. I can get outside my comfort zone and I can feel free to be myself finally. And so, yeah, I did some things on purpose that were embarrassing. I actually did. Like the ice example was a great example. I pretended to accidentally fall down on the ice and fall face first into a snow pile. Yeah. Which hurt, by the way, because I have a condition where cold hurts me. But other kids looked at it and they laughed and made fun of me. And I stood up. And because I had done it on purpose, I recognized what was going on. And I laughed with them. And I said, that was funny and kind of fun. And then I moved on with my life. And you know what I realized? I didn't care. It didn't strike me down anymore. It didn't strike me down emotionally. I didn't care that they laughed at me anymore. I just thought, oh well, they laughed at me. Cool. I'm glad they were entertained. My life goes on. I had other things going on that day. Who cares? That was one little moment and it didn't bother me. And I thought that was great. And so how do you get away from this idea of like, oh, people are only my friend because they look at me and they feel sad for me. And so they only spend time with me because they think that I'm pitiable. Or, you know, I won't speak out in class. I have a funny joke, but I won't say it because it's going to be dumb and I'm just going to be embarrassed. How do you do this? How do you decide to change your thoughts on those things? It comes from the heart. Where's your heart? I think that's important.
In your chest.
It's in your chest. That's pretty accurate. You know, where's your heart? Where's your will? You know, where's your thoughts, your brain, your mind? If you put it on yourself and you're worried about yourself, then what's going to happen? Exactly what's happening now. But if you can just try to force yourself outside of that scenario through action, because your own actions is what's going to change the way you think. That's the truth. It's your own actions that are going to change the way you think about yourself. Mm-hmm. So if you take action now, you're going to help yourself out for the rest of your life. And that is to, embrace the awkward, embrace the embarrassing parts of life. And just don't, here's the thing. As soon as I started to do this, you know what happened to me? The opposite of what I thought would happen. So I started to go, you know what? I'm just going to act like myself. I'm going to force myself to say those things that I thought out loud. I'm going to force myself to be myself. And I'm going to force myself to walk up to this person and start a conversation about their shoes and compliment them on their shoes and see what happens. I'm going to do this over and over. And I did it for about 2 days before I already started seeing results. You know what happened to me? The opposite I thought would happen. I thought what was going to happen is people were going to hate me, people were going to shun me, and my worst fears were going to happen. happened. But you know what happened? The opposite. I became popular. But I use popular in quotes because I wasn't a popular kid. I just had so many friends by the end of that school year that I was well known throughout like my entire school, and everybody loved me, and I wanted to hang out. Not everybody, but a lot of people. A large amount of people, right?
It's really kind of like the rest of the world, actually,
Yeah.
because
When you
everybody
Yeah,
wants to.
when you stop worrying about what other people are thinking of you, because here's the truth. Are other people worrying about you? Most of the time, no. They're worrying about themselves too. You look at other people, what are they actually worrying about? Are they worrying about you, the way that you're dressed, the way that you smell, the way that you look, the funny comment you make? Are they worrying about those things? 99% of the time, those people are thinking the same thing you are about themselves. They're like, oh no, how does my breath sound? What do I look like? Blah, 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 blah. They're worrying about themselves. But as soon as you just let yourself be, you find peace. You find freedom. You recognize that it doesn't matter. Because you can only be who you are. So be that and be it well. If you hold yourself back, if you're worried, I mean, the best thing I can tell you to do is force yourself to encounter those worries and face them with pride and recognize your victories. And as you do that, even when it looks like a failure, treat it like a victory. Because it is, because you forced yourself to do something that's very hard. And what happens over time is you start to become comfortable with yourself around other people. And that changes everything. Because when you no longer have to worry about the next thing you have to say, you no longer have to worry about what other people think of what your comment's going to be or what you say, like whether people think you're smart. You don't have to worry about yourself in the conversation anymore. You can actually just focus on them, which is what the conversation is for in the first place. You don't communicate with someone, like you don't have a conversation for your sake. I mean, you can, but you're having a conversation. Who are you focused on? Yourself? No, that doesn't make sense. Because then it's just a conversation with yourself and someone else is included, and it's weird. And that's why it's not very productive. You focus on them in your conversation with them, right? But to get there, it's work. But it's worth it. It's so worth it. So I wish the very best. And I'm saying, I started with this, you can get there. You have to force yourself. It's not going to be comfortable. You get outside your comfort zone. You get outside that bubble of yours.
Mm-hmm.
And soon enough, you'll find yourself no longer worrying so much about yourself when you're doing a conversation. Because if your mind is on yourself and you're trying to have a conversation with someone, your mind will throw you off the conversation constantly. And it's going to be really hard to have a conversation. It's just the truth. Mm-hmm. So you can slowly get your mind off yourself. You can feel comfortable with other people around you. And that allows you to focus on other people when you're talking to them. And that, like, you can actually look them in the eyes when you're having a conversation with them. Like, that's huge, right? And that is going to make all of your conversations way better, because you're not going to be so worried about the conversation itself. It's just going to be natural, because that's who you are. And that's who we all are. Well, it's what we're all capable of. That's who we all actually are. But the problem is, we're so worried about what other people think we can't be ourselves. We're so worried about what other people think that we can't be there for them. We're only stuck inside ourselves instead of being allowed, instead of allowing ourselves to just let it be and be friends and not worry so much about what they're thinking of you. Focus more on what they're thinking about themselves, as I started with, right? What matters most is not what others think of you. That part doesn't matter. You'll be plenty attractive if you make them feel good about themselves. So, the less you worry about yourselves, the easier it is to make friends. It's true. It's just true. So, do that. Try that. And don't, like Joe said, don't expect to get it in one shot. It'll take tries. It might take a couple months for you to get used to being comfortable with embarrassing situations, awkward situations. But if you can get over that hump, my gosh, dealing with people is so much easier and so much more fun.
Mm-hmm.
It is, because it's not stressful anymore. It's just joy. It's incredible. And that's what I want for you. And that's what you want for yourself. So you have to work to get that. You have to undo some bad habits. And you can totally do that. Even if you're autistic. You can totally do that. I don't think that you're autistic, by the way, Anonymous. I don't. Totally not. I don't. By the way that you wrote the thing, it doesn't, I'm just saying that even autistic people can achieve this. And so that's my point. Like, you totally can. So, yeah. Does anybody else have anything they want to add?
I
think
No?
you spoke beautifully.
Okay.
I agree.
Perfect. Well, we are over time by 30 minutes, so
Hey,
I
man.
appreciate you all sticking around and joining.
This thing about Don't Worry Wednesday, you put a quarter in, you just got to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. That's right. You can't get off this ride once it starts.
That's right.
You put your quarter in. It's a contract. You're not allowed to leave.
Wait,
yeah.
this cost me a quarter? I thought it was free.
Yeah, well. Well, if you thought that, then I guess you owe us. No. You didn't pay to get into this room? How did you get here?
Man, oh man, yeah, right. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, well, I guess I'll let you stay. Yeah. But yeah, thank you all so much for being here and joining us and staying late with us. Oh my gosh, Master Lay, I can't believe you're still awake. And thanks for staying with us. I thought you were going to go to bed. Like, I saw you earlier in the stream, and I'm like, okay, he's going to leave within the next 15 minutes, I'm sure, because it's late for him. But you stayed the whole time. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. We love you, man. Who said I'm awake? Oh, yeah, my bad. I shouldn't assume that you're not sleep texting.
That's right.
But yeah. Awesome. Well, we all love you so much. Thank you for letting us do the show with you guys and for being a part of it. Yeah, I don't know her. Who's sleep? Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. I think Joe won't be here for the next couple of Wednesdays. So if you want to, I don't know who's going to be here. So show up and find out. It'll be a surprise.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yep. It'll be a far better show. It'll
That's
be
not
great.
true. No.
Especially if Kyle's on.
Kyle did do a great job last time.
Kyle does a great job, but that doesn't demean your wonderfulness to our show.
Yeah, obviously.
Thank you.
Yeah, show gets no better or worse. Kyle is a very... I mean, one thing that's interesting, though, is it does change perspective, though. It's nice to have a new person every once in a while, because then you get someone else's sort of thinking engaged, and Kyle is a very different thinker than Joe and I. Joe and I might agree, like, we tend to agree on pretty much everything, but the things we think about and the way that we approach them may be different, and that is true with different guests that we have on here. So it's always really cool to have other people, and Princess included. So yeah.
Yeah, I am more and more impressed with what Princess has to add to the conversations. Like, I'm serious. You two could do the show without me, and you totally could.
Well, you two could do the show without me as well. I totally believe in that. But will we?
Yeah, but you're the P, man.
I mean, you're the Joe.
The Joe.
The Joe. The Joe, as opposed to the Joe, who's the other Joe.
Yes, that's right.
Joe Bohan.
That's right.
So yeah. Anyways, I hope you're all looking forward to next week. I know I am, and I will see you guys there. Thank you all for joining us. Love you guys. Bye now.
Love you guys.
Peace. End.